Hello everyone, I'm not gonna make this intro stupid long, but I just have a few things to say. In October, the reason you are not seeing any videos is because me and Jordan were in a car accident and we have been recovering for the last 50 days. So we're fine though, we're fine, we're here, we are healing, we're vibing. She was not involved, she's fine. She just got the plague and almost died, and then I got the plague and almost died. So,
and I didn't give it to her, it was separate plagues.
But we had like the same symptoms and everything.
So then we were sending each other, hey, maybe do this, hey, this is what's going on with this, maybe you should do this.
So the last month and a half has been a mess, but we are back, we are here for December. Sorry that our lives fell apart.
One little thing. I went on vacation and I got engaged.
Yeah. And I wanted to try something new because we talk about serial killers, we talk about cults, we talk about all of this horrible crap happening. And I was like, you know what, why don't we add true crime to the mix? So I text her and I'm like, hey, would you be interested in doing true crime? And she was like, sure. So I found 2 Christmas related true crime happenings. And we're just gonna talk about them today. And
we got our Christmas garb on.
Yeah, I got my Snoopy sweatpants and I got Nightmare Before Christmas fuzzy socks.
And I got Christmas tree socks.
We're getting too old to be stretching like this.
Help.
So we're gonna talk about Jonelle Matthews today. I had vaguely heard of her because, you know, she is the girl on the milk carton. I know there's been like so many documentaries made about her, and so I texted her, I was like, let's do this, and she was like, okay. And then she TikToked it, and I podcasted it. So this took place 5 days before Christmas, okay, on December 20th, 1984 in Greeley, Colorado. And Janelle was 12 years old at the time, and she was going to be performing a Christmas concert because she was in a choir at the Intra-West Bank. Her dad was named Jim Matthews, and she had an older sister named Jennifer, so there's a lot of J's here, and he was going to his oldest daughter Jennifer's basketball game. So Janelle was going to be going to this concert by herself. She would be there by herself.
Which was not an uncommon thing for people to do in the 80s.
And especially for like a place in like Greeley, Colorado. I know it's not like a massive city, but it's not a super small town either from what I've heard.
People didn't even know where their kids were in the 80s.
Yeah. Didn't they have to use like commercials at like 10 o'clock at night being like, do you know where your kids are?
Mm-hmm. And then people would go, oh, actually I don't know where my kids are.
So Janelle had been sick the previous few days, but she begged her mom, Gloria, to let her go to school and to be in the Christmas concert. You know, when you're a child in school, and the last few days leading up to Christmas break is just filled with like, you don't have to do finals, it's all like Christmas activities, like you're seeing your friends, you're having fun, like it's not a lot of learning, it's like games and stuff. So she really wanted to go and be part of that because she had been sick and she was just over it. Her parents ended up agreeing with a deal being made that she was to come home right after so she could rest, and she agreed. She was like, heck yeah, I will do that. And this was the night that Gloria was actually going to be going to the airport and getting on a flight, going to see her father who was sick. She wanted to spend some time with him before Christmas, so she was getting on a late night flight. So before the basketball game, everyone met at the Matthews' house and they all said their goodbyes. Jennifer had stayed at the school. She wasn't at home to like say the goodbyes, so not sure where she was, but it's presumed that she stayed at the school to get ready for her basketball game. And then after they said their goodbyes and Gloria left, Jim and Janelle got in the car and they went to go get something to eat, and then Jim dropped Janelle off at her concert. Jim then went to the school to watch Jennifer's basketball game. Where Jim dropped her off was the Franklin Middle School for her concert, and then there was a bus there that was going to take them over to the Intra-West Bank, and they were the people who were putting on the concert. Since her mom was leaving the state and her dad was going to be at Jennifer's basketball game, nobody knew that this was the very last time they would ever see Janelle. Something that was just supposed to be a normal night for them crazy.
Like, you're just going about your day. Oh, this kid's got to do this. This kid's got to do this. We're going to go home and have dinner.
And it's like the last thing that would be on your mind. Like, is this the last time I'm going to see my kid?
Right.
After the concert, Janelle walked outside with her friend Diana Ross. And Diana's dad, Russ, was picking her up. Now, that's an insane name, Russ Ross. Janelle asked him for a ride home, and he agreed. As Janelle was being dropped off somewhere between 8 and 8:15 p.m., Russ noticed that the garage door in Janelle's house was open, and nobody was at home. He found that a little odd, but he didn't think too much about it. Just thought that someone accidentally left it open. Janelle went inside and turned a light on for Russ to know she had made it safely, and then Russ and Diana drove away. Around 8:30, the phone rang and Janelle answered it. It was a teacher from the local elementary school. Jim was actually the principal of that elementary school. It wasn't uncommon for a teacher to call the house phone and say like, hey, I'm gonna be sick, I'm not able to come in, you gotta get a substitute, stuff like that. So Janelle made a note for her dad, took her shoes off, turned the space heater on, turned the TV on, and put her slippers on to get cozy and rest. And the living room was where she liked to hang out, and so she just set up camp there, getting ready to just hang out and wait for her dad to come home. At 9:30 p.m., so about an hour later, Jim comes home and notices that the garage door is still open. He goes inside and calls out for Janelle, but he gets no response. And he finds this odd because his daughter is not the type to stay quiet. She had a very flamboyant personality. Like, you just knew when she was there. And he goes into the living room and sees that she has set up all of her stuff, has the TV on, and that her shoes were off and she had put on her slippers. And so he just assumed that she went to the neighbors for something and that she would be back any minute. So he wasn't really overly concerned at this point. While he waited, he decided to take this time while no one was home to wrap some Christmas presents. And 30 minutes later, he gets done wrapping presents and he realizes that Janelle is still not home. And this is when he really starts to get worried because something's not right. Jennifer ends up coming home and Jim is like, have you seen her? Like, did she go to the basketball game or something? And Jennifer's like, no, I haven't seen her since this morning. Jim ends up calling his pastor, James Christie, who was one of his closest friends at the time, to get advice or reassurance. Because a lot of people were like, well, why didn't you call the police first? Why did you call the pastor if you knew that something wasn't right? He just didn't know, and that the pastor being one of his best friends, like, and the pastor tells him to call the police, so that's what he does. Around 15 minutes later, the police show up to the Matthews' house. They noted that the living room looked like she had just been there, but her slippers were gone, which is weird, because if you were going to willingly leave your house, you know, and come right back, you would have put your shoes on, especially in the winter, you know? Like, you want to be walking around in just slippers. The Denver Post says there were stockings left behind on the couch, and the Greeley Tribune said there was a shawl by the space heater. There was a piece of clothing left behind. Articles say different things. The only things of interest found were footprints left in the snow around the house and possibly a missing gas can. More police showed up and the concern started to grow about Janelle being missing. Between midnight and 1 a.m., Gloria arrived at her parents' house in California, and she called Jim just to let him know that she made it safe. Jim picks up the phone and answers it. Gloria instantly knew by his tone that something was not right. And Jim had to sit there at 1 a.m. and explain to his wife what had happened. That would be horrendous. Like, you're going on a flight to a different state to see your sick dad. You call your husband just to like be like, hey, I made it, and you don't expect that.
Especially since they didn't have cell phones back then, so like there was no way to contact her until she called from her parents. And that's awful, because she went so long without even knowing what was going on.
Yeah. Because of how late it was when the police were called, they couldn't really do anything until the next morning. And they kind of just thought that she might show back up through the night. But the next morning comes and she didn't. The next morning, a formal search for Janelle began. The FBI was brought in, and that's when all of the questioning started. It was a possibility that Janelle had run away, but everybody who knew her said she would never do something like that. And I feel like you just know who the type of kid is to do something like that. It didn't seem likely due to her leaving in only her slippers, and they checked her room and there were no clothes missing. Her bags were still there. She hadn't packed a bag or anything. All of her belongings were still there. It was beginning to look more and more like something bad happened, and she did not leave of her own free will.
During the beginning of the investigation, police had 2 people of interest. The first person of interest was Jim Matthews, the dad, which they oftentimes
they look at the dad.
The one of the parents, both of the
Yes.
parents. In a lot of cases, it is somebody that they know that's very close.
Yes.
So Jim was the last family member to see Janelle alive. So, like, Russ, the guy, her friend's dad, dropped her off. But he wasn't acting the way the police expected him to act since his kid just went missing.
Like, they probably expected him to be, like, hysterical and just completely overwhelmed and panicking. But everyone responds to stressful situations differently.
They spent the next few months watching him and monitoring him for any suspicious behavior. The second person of interest was Janelle's mother. Police learned that Janelle was adopted as an infant.
So they were not looking at Gloria.
Jim and Gloria had trouble having another child after Jennifer was born, so they looked into adoption. At the time, they were living in California. Janelle grew up knowing that she was adopted, but never had any contact with her biological mother, who gave birth to Janelle at only 13 years old. Police thought that maybe Janelle's mother, biological mother, had come looking for her, which is, like, not far-fetched.
Yeah,
you know?
She grows up, and Janelle's 12 years old at this time, so the mom is, what, 25, 26? What if she's like, I want my daughter, I need to find her.
Also, at 13, she probably didn't have the option of, like, I want to put this child up for adoption. Her parents were probably like, absolutely not.
Yeah, so who knows on that part, but
also, not that that would make it right for
no,
but
there have been cases like that where the person gives their child up for adoption, and then years down the road they're like, I regret my decision, and then they kidnap the kid back.
Great plan. What do you...
At this point, time is just going by. The police are monitoring their 2 possible suspects. There's no other suspects at this time. Christmas comes and goes, and there is no sign of Janelle anywhere. This is so sad. Her Christmas presents are still under the tree in hopes that she will come home to open them and get her gifts. The new year comes, and there are no additional clues or leads.
I have a bone to pick. That they shouldn't have said, well, it's too late for us to do anything right now, so we'll wait till tomorrow. No, you should do it right now, actually.
I mean, I'm assuming that they at least called the FBI and was like, hey, we need you to come here.
I feel like they should have at least done some sort of search out through the woods, something. Because by the time morning comes, whatever happened, they're gone. They're long gone.
Yeah.
You might be able to pick up some clues, but like...
A few weeks into the investigation, the Daily Sentinel reported that a dad of another missing girl came to help the family out. Beth Miller, who was 15, disappeared in 1983 when she was out for a run near her home in Idaho Springs. The dad just came because he had heard about this. He didn't have any connection to the case, but he just wanted to provide support to Jim and Gloria because he knew what they were going through and thought that him talking to them could be of help. On February 9th, Janelle's birthday came, and she was still nowhere to be found. A massive search of 600 volunteers was conducted, but nothing ended up being found. It was the largest search in Greeley history. During this time, Jim and Gloria did a lot of press conferences to get the message out all over America to keep an eye out for Janelle if anyone could see her. They wanted this to be national news. Janelle became one of the first girls to have her face on a milk carton. And you brought up, you were like, putting a face on a milk carton is just so weird.
Like, I understand it because
Yeah.
so many people buy milk and they used to put them in cartons
instead of the jugs.
And like, I fully understand why they do that, but it's just so funny that somebody's idea was like
milk
cartons.
But I guess that is like the most common thing bought for a household.
Also,
like,
it's big, so
yeah.
like you can put stuff on it.
After 6 months of police monitoring Janelle's biological mom, they ruled her out as a suspect. Now, during this time, they never approached her, so she never even knew what was going on. She didn't know that Janelle was missing. She didn't know that she was being looked at as a suspect. She was just clueless the whole time. But I guess she was just living her day-to-day life, and there were no signs of Janelle being near her or her having anything to do with it. The Greeley Tribune was reported that Jim was administered a polygraph by the FBI. A month after the first polygraph, he was asked to do another. At this point, Jim started to get really mad because he was like, "You're looking at the wrong person. You are wasting your time on me because I didn't do it. I can tell you right now that I didn't do it. You should be out looking for the person who truly did do it." In the middle of 1985, the Greeley police were contacted by the Weld County Sheriff's Office. Harold Andrews told Greeley police that they had found a piece of human scalp that had dark brown hair on it. He requested that they come check it out to see if the scalp and hair could possibly be Janelle's. Now, this is what I found weird. The piece of scalp was 1 inch or 2 in diameter, and it was found on a farm by a farm dog 2 months ago. They waited 2 months to bring this to anyone's attention. And it says that he waited to tell anybody because he wanted to make sure the scalp was from a human and didn't want anyone to worry if it wasn't.
Could have been from like a hog or something.
Yeah, which I guess makes sense, but to wait 2 months. So the scalp was sent off to the FBI, and in October of 1985, the test results came back as inconclusive. They then asked Gloria if she would come and see if it was her daughter.
You can show somebody a piece of scalp that's what, this big? 1 inch or 2 in diameter?
And that could be so...
Is that your kids?
Yeah, and the fact that Gloria would have to go through that. And so Gloria did show up, and she, you know, felt the hair and stuff, and she said that the hair didn't feel right, and the case hit another dead end in November.
Also, what were they gonna do if they... I don't understand.
They might have, like, started, like, give a dog a scent or something and see if they could find it on the property of the farm.
I feel like they should do that anyway, because you can't tell a woman, look at this tiny piece of scalp and tell me if it belongs to your kid. Don't get me going.
You're already going.
The 1-year anniversary of Janelle's disappearance was approaching. Gloria gave away Janelle's Christmas presents. That's so sad.
Yeah.
It was starting to feel like they were never going to know what happened to Janelle. Years started going by. After 8 years, a new lead came in. In 1992, Greeley police got a call from a department in South Dakota 500 miles away. A man had been arrested, and when they searched his house, they found a bunch of newspaper clippings of pictures of missing children. One of the pictures was of Janelle. Police looked into it and discovered that the man was nowhere near Janelle's home on that night, making the case another dead end.
Don't know what the hell that guy was doing, for one.
He's
Like,
just
being a weirdo. In 1994, 10 years after Janelle went missing, her family had her declared legally dead, so they were able to have a ceremony for her just to get a little bit of closure, because they were never able to do that years and years and years ago. 2 years after she was declared legally dead, they got a letter in the mail. And the letter was from Janelle's biological mother. Janelle's biological mother finally wanted to meet her. Gloria knew that this was something that Janelle had wanted to do. She had wanted to meet her biological mother when she was older, like an adult over the age of 18. And at this point, you know, she would have been, what, 22, 23. So Janelle's biological mother thought that the time would be right. But now Gloria has to contact Janelle's biological mother and tell her what has happened after all of these years. How would you feel like you have a daughter You either have to, by force, or willingly put her up for adoption because you are only a kid yourself. The years go by. You know that your daughter wants to meet you when she's older. You want to meet her when she's older. And then the time you think finally comes, and so you contact the adoptive parents and they tell you, we had your kid declared legally dead because she went missing 12 years ago.
Yeah, that would be like really heartbreaking. More heartbreaking for the people that raised her, but also if you waited 2 decades to meet your kid and then they're like,
the chance is never gonna come now. Like, so more years go by, the years and years keep going by, the case goes completely cold. And you know, other cases got brought up that were more important at the time. The family ends up moving around a lot, and they ended up moving to the Philippines, and Gloria and Jim retired to Costa Rica. Jennifer had married and moved out of Colorado. In 2014, remains were found around Greeley, and many suspected that it could have been Janelle, but it was quickly dismissed.
In December of 2018, that's a long, long time after 1984 or whenever this is.
1884, yeah.
1884.
1884. Oh boy.
December of 2018, the Greeley police announced they were taking a fresh look at the case, which, like, makes sense because the technology advancements from 1984 to 2018...
Was that like 30 years?
Yeah, but even though, like, almost 40 years.
Oh.
I was trying to do math in my head and I can't.
We can't.
But, like, the advancements, they might be able to figure something out, but also it was so long ago that they weren't there to, like, lay eyes on the situation. Anyway, they believed people in the community had information about the disappearance that wasn't previously shared with law enforcement, which could make sense to me because, like, some people might have just been scared to, like, give information because they don't want to end up as a person of interest, you know?
Or they didn't know, like, that what they heard or saw or, like, something could be useful.
Yeah, it could be, like,
such
he
a
said,
minor
she said,
detail.
he said, she said. And they don't, like, when the case is active and this is a big thing, you don't want to just give the cop something that's like, oh, I heard this from this guy over here and this guy over here said this. Because then it's like, that's not useful. But now if they could get any piece of information that, like, was floating around, I don't know, then they probably won't feel like they're gonna get in trouble for something because the case has been cold for so long. I don't know, that's just how I see it. They were going to be focusing harder on the concert that Janelle had performed at. That makes sense. Police released a video of the concert. There was no information about where they got the video from or who recorded it.
I was listening to a podcast and they had talked about the video, and I haven't seen the video. I'll put it in here if I can find it, but I guess that police noticed something about the video, and it's the fact that Christmas concert, so like there's kids up on the stage and they're singing, and there's a person holding like a camera, not a phone, but like a camera, recording it. And I guess that they noticed that Janelle was the main person that was being recorded. And if we remember, Jennifer was not there, Gloria was not there, Jim was not there. So who else would have been there that was focusing on Janelle? And was that person who was recording it, is that the person that took her?
I also want to know if 40 years ago, did they not look into the video? Because
I don't know.
That seems like it would be a pretty obvious piece of information if you're watching a video and in the video you can see somebody recording Janelle, the person you're supposed to be looking at in this video because she's missing, but now they notice. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no clue.
Or if they like just got the video, but like why wouldn't somebody say, oh hey, I have a video from, I don't know. The police believe the abductor had to be someone local who was watching Janelle for a period of time, who knew her mom was going to be out of state and knew that her dad and sister weren't going to be home that night.
Which is pretty logical thinking.
Announcements never came. After some time, Jim and Gloria moved to Washington because that's where Jennifer lived and they wanted to be closer to her. A few days before they listed their house for sale, they got a call. Janelle had been found after 30 years. In July of 2019, her remains had been accidentally found by workers attempting to dig an oil pipeline in a field about 18 miles south of Greeley.
So it was complete accident that her body was even found. And the fact that they just stumbled upon that, like...
Her remains were partially covered by deteriorating clothing that matched what Janelle was wearing the night she went missing. Forensic report listed the cause of death being a gunshot wound to the head. In September of 2019, the police publicly named a person of interest. This started in 1984.
Insane.
2019.
And the person the police were looking at was Stephen Pankey. The Matthews family had said that they have never heard the name. Steve gives a few interviews on why police were naming him as a person of interest. He told people that he was a suspect, even though police weren't saying that, and he was just acting generally weird about the whole situation. He did an interview with KVTB, which shows how off this was. In the interview, he claims he had never met the Matthews family in his entire life. This gets so weird, so just bear with me, it gets a little bit confusing. And he claims that on the night that Janelle went missing, he was at home with his then wife and son. He lived only a few minutes away from Janelle's house. They were going to be leaving the next morning to visit family for Christmas, so he mentioned the car was packed to the brim, which is a very odd statement. Like, my car was packed to the brim. Why are you talking about that?
Like, all you needed to say was, we were home and then the next morning we left for, like, you didn't have to.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that they say about when someone's lying, they give too many details.
Yeah.
Like, they just start packing in the details. And then people are like, why are you telling me that?
He looked out of his window to see the snow falling, and he said a car pulled into his driveway with the lights on, and he thought an arbitrary charge was coming his way. So a car pulls into his driveway, and that's his first thought, is that he's getting an arbitrary charge. He said he had a past with the Greeley police and that he had a gay background because he had a relative who was gay and killed by the police. This guy is weird.
That doesn't even...
And then, people were like, what? But in the 70s, he was working as a youth pastor at a local church. He was accused of rape. He explained that he was sleeping with a woman, she got pregnant, went overseas to England, had an abortion, came back, and he was angry with her because she didn't ask him for permission to do that. He slept with her again. After that, he threatened to expose her to the church for having an abortion. This is why he claims he was accused of rape. He was also charged with harassment and has had 20 separate run-ins with the law. Most of the charges did end up being dropped, though. He said when the car was in his driveway, they sat there for a little bit, then pulled out and left. He didn't think any more of the car, and the next morning, him and his family woke up super early and left. He claims he didn't find out about Janelle going missing until the 26th, the day after Christmas. Now, this is where it gets even weirder. On December 27th, 2 days after Christmas, they're back home from visiting their family. Steve's father-in-law shows up to their house and wanted to talk to him. Steve claims that him and his father-in-law were not on speaking terms, and so he was very confused about him showing up and wanting to talk all of a sudden. His father-in-law is a groundskeeper at a cemetery. Steve says he told him that a cop came to him, the father-in-law, and said that he had a body that needed to be buried in a casket and that it would look bad for Steve. His first reaction was to ask the father-in-law if he was wearing a wire for the police. The father-in-law wouldn't say anything more and he left. And now Steve claims that he had no idea what was going on and thinks the police were responsible for this interaction. This guy's very paranoid.
Also, and hear me out, I know this is weird, but if a child goes missing, okay, I feel like they should interview everybody within like blocks of the home. You know what I mean?
Just
I know that that would be so super inconvenient and it would take up a lot of time and all the things. Okay, I understand that. But also if they went to this guy's house and knocked on his door and said, hey, there's a missing child, he would have acted so weird that they probably would have arrested him right then. Everything this man is saying and his mannerisms and like the way he acts, they would have been like, why are you being weird?
Yeah, what are you doing?
Like, I feel like when there's a missing child, they should interview, and I know in big cities that's like almost impossible.
Yeah.
But like in a case like this where you live in like on a block or in a cul-de-sac, like everybody should be interviewed.
So after this conversation leaves him incredibly sketched out, he calls his lawyer. But his lawyer is out of the country and can't speak to him. Steve then decides he's going to search his own property, but doesn't find anything. Eventually, his lawyer called him back and told him that he should tell the police the information that was told to him. He calls the FBI instead of local police, because remember, he didn't have a good relationship with them, so he went straight to the FBI. And the FBI took his statement. The FBI finds this very odd, and they start to ask him more questions. It's discovered that Janelle's family had gone to the same church that Steve was the youth pastor at, but they didn't start going until Steve had left. So they're trying to find some sort of connection between Janelle and this guy, and it seems like the church is the closest connection that they have at the moment. Steve also had a history with Russ, the dad who dropped off Janelle that night. Russ and Steve had gone to court together for work-related things, and Steve said after he told the FBI his information, he didn't have any more contact with them, but the police say that isn't true, and that Steve was always trying to reach out to talk to them. So he's constantly like calling the police, the FBI, being like, hey, I want to talk to you, hey, I want to talk to you. Why?
Which is a bit weird.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Like, I don't know.
A few months after Janelle went missing, Steve went to a church service where a minister claimed that Janelle would be found safe. His wife heard him mumbling to himself, and she heard him accuse the minister of being a false prophet. In 2008, Steve's son was murdered, and at his son's funeral, Steve was overheard saying, I hope God didn't allow this to happen because of Jonelle Matthews.
And nobody thought, hey, this guy over here.
In the mid-90s, Steve and his family moved away to Idaho, and he joins an LDS church.
Why was nobody turning this guy in?
When he joined the church and got baptized, the bishop asked him if there was anything he would like to confess, anything that weighed heavy on him. He tells the bishop about Janelle going missing and the weird conversation with his father-in-law. He then tries to say that this is something that had never happened in their town before and it was a big deal, but he messes up. So in the interview, he says that and this is before Janelle was found, he said that this is the first murder that has happened in the town instead of saying disappearance. So he fucked up and said murder instead of disappearance, and then the people were like, well, how do you know that she was murdered? And he was like, I don't know. Steve says he has the most contact with police after December of 2018. He urges them to use his DNA to prove his innocence. On Wednesday, September 4th, 2019, police got a warrant to search Steve's home in Twin Falls, Idaho. It stated that investigators had probable cause to believe that he abducted and murdered Janelle. He claimed that the night Janelle went missing, a rake was used to cover up tracks left in the snow, and that he would watch students walk home from the middle school that Janelle went to.
Why was this guy never turned in for anything?
His now ex-wife, Angela, so she was like, I'm divorcing you. She said that their whole Christmas trip was unexpected. He just sprung this on them. So that makes him look, she was murdered 5 days before Christmas and now all of a sudden they're taking a trip. She said on their way home, he listened to the radio, which was unlike him, to listen for news of Janelle's disappearance. After their return, he made her read to him newspaper articles about Janelle.
On October 13th, 2020, Steve was indicted on charges of first-degree murder and the kidnapping of Jonelle Matthew. He was held without bail at the Ada County Jail in Boise. He was then extradited to Colorado. He was 69 years old at the time. Jim said he was especially excited to see justice and says the arrest was another gift to our family.
Steve made his first courtroom appearance in Greeley on October 30th, 2020. The trial began on October 14th, 2020, which ended in a mistrial on November 4th, 2021 to a hung jury. They voted to convict him on a single misdemeanor count of making false statements to police, but couldn't come to a unanimous verdict on the kidnapping and murder charges. Steve's defense attorney argued that his obsessive interest in the case could be attributed to Asperger's syndrome. Did they really just play the autism card?
They sure did.
You know, as a fellow autism, what the fuck?
Might I add, even if this man, because he could be, is on the spectrum, that does not mean he is not capable of doing something like this.
On October 31st, 2022, during his retrial, he was found guilty of the kidnapping and murder of Janelle. He was sentenced to 20 years to life. His earliest possible release date is 2042, and he would be 91 years old. He is serving his sentence at the Arkansas Valley Correctional Facility in Ordway, Colorado.
Good. And stay
Fuck
there.
you.
And also them saying, but I don't think he did it. He already got enough time as a free man.
Yeah, for real. He went, what, 40 years?
Throw him away.
Just put him in the dumpster.
God.
Well, I hope you guys liked that one. If these do good, we'll do more. Or we'll just do more anyway, because I had a lot of fun. Yeah, it's my channel. I'm gonna post whatever the fuck I want. I'm having fun over here, okay? Leave me alone.
We're trying to get through the winter scaries, okay?
Yeah, so like and comment and subscribe, and let us know if you do want to see more. Let us know what true crime you want us to cover. Like, give us a topic and we'll do it. And we will see you guys next week. Bye.